When does an employee is actually satisfied? Okay, is it to have dinner in the same table with an employer, or a raise in a paycheck, or an incentives? Is it monetary, or is it sharing the table?
According to you, you've done a very good job as a manager to give me that promotion and pay rise of 1,000 dirhams. But I know after I complete 2 years and if I have to step out of, somewhere else to look for a job, I'll at least get a hike of minimum 10%. You are giving me a hike of 2 or 4% within the company. Do you think that 1,000 dirham is going to motivate me?
Welcome to another episode in the Procast studio. And today we have an HR in the house, Dr. Rajshree. And here you go. Introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate providing me this platform and this opportunity to be with you here today, and also to talk about HR and opening a lot of doors, or I would say cans on HR that will come out very soon through this podcast. Again, quick introduction about myself. I'm Dr. Rajshree Vichare. I have just recently been appointed as a thought leader and a board member at Talent Valley Global, where our platform is not just about recruiting or giving jobs to people, but aligning talent with right opportunities with purpose to transform organizations, and that is beyond borders. So we are looking at transformation of business, organizations, and talent, or rather, I would say a full-fledged people affair that would go beyond UAE to the borders of USA, to the borders of Saudi, GCC, and you name it. These will be our operating markets, and this is where I come from to sort of talk about how can we support, grow people, in their jobs and careers.
So we talk about Talent Valley,
Yeah.
and it's a platform for the generation who are looking for jobs.
Yes.
Okay. So are we talking about college finished students, or are we even talking about higher management?
We are talking about a blend of all age groups.
Okay.
To start from top tier, which is executive search, and coming to the level of even placing students from universities and connecting them to multinational organizations and opportunities.
So do you guys have any requirement of they should be graduates, they have to be this,
Look,
or is
requirements comes from the companies which are
Okay.
hiring, right? It also depends on roles or positions which are available in the market. Again, we look at gathering the candidate profile into our database. We do a pre-screening to understand where a candidate is falling into their competencies and skills and qualifications, and accordingly we match talent with the right opportunity that's available with us, with all the organizations that we're dealing with as partners.
still you didn't answer my question? So we are in this new world, right? Altogether post COVID.
Yes.
So I see a 16-year-old becoming a millionaire.
Yeah.
Why would he take a job?
Uh, that's a very, what do you say, uh, interesting question. Obviously, I could talk of personalities here and I could talk of backgrounds and aspiration that a person or an individual would have. Now, a millionaire, why a millionaire? Or I have had experiences where I had to place kids of millionaires or billionaires into the corporate world, even though they have their own business empires to get into. But the exposure that they would get into other industries or the real corporate world for, these kids which are passing out, having everything in life,
Yeah.
not needing any sort of financial support, but the requirement to deal with real world scenarios, real world people, corporate politics, all of that only happens once you enter that world. And that's where, even if we are talking about millionaires or billionaires who want that exposure can only happen when you get on the ground level, learn the skill set. How do you, maneuver or navigate yourself within the organization, and come out, to deal with actual challenges that one would do when they are into their own business empires.
Okay, I take this. I give you 1 point.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you on the employer side or the employee side? I am an employer. So answer the
So,
question. I'm not threatening you. Don't worry.
no. Well, this is something where, as an HR leader, we strike a balance. And that balance is what is our basic, what do you say, profession or ask or demand? Why are we even there in the business? The reason is number one, we take care of everything which is related to employment affairs. Now, that starts from nothing but getting the right talent to administrating all those requirements that are required at an operational level for this talent to be in the company, be it their career development, be it their training and development needs, be it their employee engagement or satisfaction to be in the company, or when it comes to exiting the organization, to ensure that they are leaving, but they are leaving with something learning from the company that they are leaving from, or the brand that they are taking forward, in their career, which will stay forever. So that is on the employee side that we take care. For the employer, what do we take care? We take care of their compliances, statutory regulations, which are laid by labor laws. Like, for example, my experience walks of almost about 16 global countries, starting from UAE to Saudi to Qatar to Bahrain to Kuwait to Europe, Poland, Denmark, USA, UK, Singapore. All of these countries, there are labor laws. These labor laws are there to protect the employer as well as employee. When you have an employment contract which is signed, you always see two parties there. Two parties state in their conditions that these are the conditions that an employer has, these are the agreeable part that an employee signs upon. So it's always two ways. And our job is to ensure that we protect both and have a balance in between, where we, stand where we have to stand for employees, or at least voice the right things, with integrity, with ethics, with morale of human nature or on humanitarian grounds. And on the other side, give solutions to business. Just to give you an example, for me, when I work with the C levels, in multiple organizations which are top reputed multi conglomerate organizations or businesses, within UAE, but operating across on a global level, my recommendation to the C level has always been, these are your pros, these are your cons. Now take a decision. I'll never
Could you
push
please
in.
tell us what is C level?
C level is your C suite, which is the CEO, like you said, you being an employer yourself. A COO, who's a chief operating officer, CTO, who's a chief technology or product officer, or board members. Those which are executive decision makers or the final sign off or approvers in the business. So, yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, interesting. Now, my next question is
Sure.
employees and accountants. How good is their relationship?
Let me breathe that in. uh, I I would like to label this relation from my experience alone as a bit of Tom and Jerry kind of relation. And again, why I say this is because there are multiple areas where we stand for people, where we talk about something called as ENPS. That's your employer net promoting score, which means how happy your people are in the company. You take up surveys with the employees. You throw questions to understand, their on a scale of 1 to 10, what is their satisfaction level in their jobs. And that impacts and matters the most for employer branding. For my own brand in the organization, to ensure that I or my brand's word or name outside is not bad mouth because of people, because people are your biggest assets.
Yes.
And when it comes to our relation with accounts, there's always a fight about why do you need X budget. When we talk about we need X amount for training and development, yeah, but what does it give you in return? Give me the forecast. When we talk about staffing budgets, when we do manpower planning, again, now these are needs which are required on the ground by the operations department or those that run the show, but they go through human resources department. That I have, let's say, 10 people in one team, but next year or in another 6 months or so, I'm going to open, let's say, 10 more stores, or I'm going to acquire another brand. I will need more people, and I cannot do with these 10 people. So who's going to fight for that budget of more people? That's HR. And with who? That's finance or accounts. So we have to have our valid reasons, backing, business case studies, justification, and all of that we are answerable to accounts or rather finance on whatever activities we do because we spend on people. So that's why I say the relationship is more of a Tom and Jerry where you're chasing, you're trying, you're pleading. But over time, I have ensured that while my working relationship with the finance department always stays hand in glove, and that's how we operate, and that's the bare minimum requirement for any employer or a C level, that your human resources team and your finance team work hand in glove and they don't have clashes. Because if that happens, there's a friction where a CEO is or an employer is in a position where, you don't want to waste time on administrative task.
Yes,
You have
absolutely.
revenues to take care, you have sales to take care, you want to bring in money, you want to scale up, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And this is a balance again that HR and finance team together needs to have.
Sort it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have this interesting question. I have multiple questions for you.
Shoot.
And one of them is employees. You want to motivate them, right? Whether it is sales, sales is very easy.
Yeah.
Add commissions, incentives to their structure, and they are highly motivated. Yeah, money drives them, is what I will say. But you have the desk jobs,
Yeah.
you have the blue collar jobs. Blue collars also, there's a overtime and things like that. But there are certain positions I don't think motivation can kick in that easily. How will you keep them motivated, or what are the tactics that you use?
So I'll give a simple answer to this. Again, this is a myth or a not so very or infamous expectation of employers or the CEOs of the world, that human resources team or department is responsible to motivate people. We are facilitators,
Okay.
right? So why I say what I say is because assume you are working in a marketing department, you're the marketing director, and you have a team of about 20 odd people under you, and you come to know, or you work closely with that team, you are the direct reporting manager. No one in the company other than you would know your team better. No one. And imagine HR stepping in to understand or coming in telling you, listen, we think that, because there are 5 people who left last month from your team, there's some gadbad in your team, and the motivation levels are low, which we are identifying through exit interviews. For whatever reasons. Now, there are reasons that are laid down. Those reasons could be not having good relationship with manager, not being happy with timings, not being happy with workload, pressure, or the way people are treating each other within the team or whatsoever. But these are the reasons that HR finds out for that director
Correct.
or the leader. That boss, this is where these are your indicators. That these are the things that we see are not going fine in your team. You got to pitch in and understand why things are going in another direction. Come back to HR and let us know how can we support you in order to bridge this gap and keep your team motivated and bring them at a scale of performance or productivity which you require. That is the actual work of human resources. It's
So HR are facilitators.
facilitators.
Understand this, guys. I'm telling myself at the same time. Okay, that's a good one.
Fair.
That's like a crisp answer, I feel. The best yet.
Okay.
Okay. Now, my next question to you is that leaves,
Yeah.
late comings, annual leaves, does it affect the organization?
uh, a very, what do you say, real time scenario. This question sort of indicates or takes me towards. Fact is, all of these are governed by something called as organizations' HR policies and procedures. Just as you and I, whenever we are working in any sort of company, we are governed by government regulations for whatever reasons, be it business setup, be it your employment regulations, laws, etc. In a very similar fashion, within any company, be it small or big, you have something called as HR policies and procedures. And if you don't have these in place, and then when these
Situation.
situations arises, and these situations when they arise, they're all different for different people, and that's where the crux of the problem begins, where you don't know, or the HR or the one who's handling these kind of situations is completely unaware. How do I treat A versus B versus C? Because again, you have seniority, you have relationships, you have business at stake, you have emotions involved, you have relationships, and you cannot afford to tamper any of these for reasons like leaves, absenteeism, late comings. Today's world is all about I'm not going to a hostel, or I'm not coming from a hostel. So you get inspired by multiple environmental factors that one sees outside the organization, or they have their own social circle where they listen what is happening in different companies, and they're not ready or averse towards giving up and just following a certain set of rule unless you have it in place. Minute you have it in place, it's very easy for you to deal. This policy applies for everyone from a coffee wala to the CEO. There is no exception there. And if there's an exception, it's on a human or a genuine basis where there are valid reasons that an HR is supposed to verify and validate. Once they are validated, a decision is taken. What are the consequences of doing so? Getting late, absenteeism, not showing up, not answering. What are the consequences? Which we call disciplinary actions. And they are delivered by HR teams.
Okay. Yes, it does. Now let's talk about the new generation that has started kicking in into our world, and I will say the 20s generation.
Yeah.
Their work habits or the way they are looking at things right now, it is not aligning with how I started my career 10 years back, or you started your career 10 years back. I did leave hop, skip, jump jobs when I was doing my colleging and while I was trying to figure out. But right now that I see, and that is something I used to do back in Mumbai, and I think so. My brother still does it, so I think that's still a trend. But I see that thing coming into the UAE market also,
Yeah.
and people are not happy with wherever they are, or they lose interest very fast.
Yeah.
And when they do that, for them they are losing interest in the job. Okay, but as an employer, I am taking out the pain to train,
Yeah.
to make sure that the person is legal. So I'm spending money on his visa. Then I am paying the salary while the person is getting trained, and so forth. So for me, 6 months down the line or 1 year down the line, if that employee decides not to continue, it affects me big time, because
Absolutely.
now I am like, I'm getting comfortable with this guy. Now I want to go next level. By the time I want to go next level, this guy wants to go to a next company, or girl for that
Yeah.
matter. How is it going to, how is it working out? How do you find these kind of situations coming to you more often now, or was it there from before?
This has been there for over years.
Okay.
And I'm talking about, even working in, again, multi conglomerate organizations where I've seen working from, generations to generations. So I've had four generations altogether working within one organization where I have Gen Zs, Millenniums, Gen Alphas, I have Gen X. You talk of whatever generation or age group, I have worked with all of them,
Okay.
and the taste and the flavor differs. Now, to answer this particular question, first, I'll address about how do you tackle with this set of population, which uh, sooner or later you identify is mentally checked out. All right. We use the word mentally checked out, which is disengaged employee. And reasons, or what do you say, symptoms of disengaged employee, they don't happen by the time they reach 6 months or 1 year. They already start kicking in from day one of joining the company. How was I welcomed in the organization? From there on, how was my journey? My first 90 days, then my 180 days. Then you move on to the other set of 9 months, and then you hit the mark of 1 year within, or the anniversary. What can an employer do to protect his interest, his or her interest, when you have invested into these talents to work for you? You have taken your time out to screen out of 1000 people and select this one talented individual which you believed is going to deliver the job that you have at place. You put everything, but then the returns are vague or they are uncertain for you. The number one thing that an human resources professional needs to do is, we call it 30, 60, 90 check-ins.
Okay.
What are these 30, 60, 90 check-ins? Every joining of a new joiner, I need to ensure, if I'm the onboarder, who is onboarding? Human resources is onboarding. I'm doing the visa. I'm getting your payroll sorted. I'm ensuring that you're, taken care for your first month's salary and all of that. Aside your manager, of course, there are also things that a manager needs to do, but from human resources point of view, as a neutral body, I need to ensure that my first 30 days I check in. How was your journey so far? Any hiccups that you had? Anywhere that your feedback can help us improve? Then you move to 60 days. If you find symptoms, and usually, now this is stats and data and proven data, if you look at even companies like Google, these are practices which are best practices by big organizations, and then the mantra follows by human resources department in any and every organization you walk into, where you look at these indications. If my answers as a new joiner are going into a direction where I'm showing unhappiness, where I'm showing dissatisfaction with whatever reasons which are other than personal, if these symptoms are picked up, it's very easy for the HR person to understand this is going to be a bad hire or a failure, in a very long run to put in. And those indicators are given to the manager, the hiring or the reporting manager. And in that way, training is to be put in, or those areas of pain areas needs to be nurtured immediately. And if this also doesn't help, by the time this you reach 6 months, you have a direct conversation. You let your HR person sit in a room, make this individual comfortable, and you talk. What are the issues? How can we improve? Is there a way that we can turn back or not? And how an employer in this part of the world, you spoke of visa costs and so on and so forth, how can you be protected again by HR? Because like I said, our job is not just employee oriented, but also we are responsible to protect the employer, because there are many what do you say, unfair practices that even implies on the employer's side, and I've seen them both. The way we protect our employer is very simple. The law itself gives us the authority. Let's say if I'm leaving your company within the first 6 months and I have an offer at hand by from any other employer, I, the old employer, have the right to ask the new employer to pay me my full visa cost, do a recovery of it, and only then release this employee with no objection. This
But
is,
does that happen
yes, it
practically?
does. This not only happens, it is something that even larger organizations have started practicing very lately. And why we call this talent exodus. Talent exodus is when, just to give you an example, when Expo 2020 happened, right? Their pay scales were at a level where a normal organization, be it big size or even, net profitable organization, was not able to cope up. Because why would I change my pay scales to meet up the demand of, some other competition that has come up? Because that's going to impact my payroll for the rest of the years. How will I justify that? So that's not doable.
Yeah.
So when the talent exodus happened, this is where these laws were implicated. That when you are leaving this company, the new employer is required to pay you. There are ways to recover these money. We call it from PRO services. We even reach out to Ministry of Human Resources to ask for a credit. If you don't recover money, you get a quota back.
Oh,
You do. These facilities are available by the law. So, in a way, it's a win win when it comes. If not, there are also terms that you can include in the Ministry of Labor contract that you sign with the new joiners. What are these terms? There are areas that are called as training fees, right? So, these training fees lock an individual for a year. I call it golden hand glove. All right.
okay.
These are the terms that you lock a new joiner, that training fees of X, let's say 5,000 dirham or so and so, will be invested. You're literally not paying that employee anything. But that's there where you, because like you said, I'm going to train, I'm going to invest, I've done everything, but this person is checked out and is going to leave me soon for some other employer or whatever is the reason. How do I protect myself? So these training fees are also legally allowed for you to put in your contracts, where if at all the terms are very clear that you leave the company within a year or two, this amount will be recoverable from the employee. So there are options that the law is giving you already in place. It's just about awareness, knowledge, and practice or implementation. That's all.
Okay. Fair point. Now, I want to know, do the HR go into training every year or every 6 months? You are a doctor now, so I'm sure Padaku. I don't know how you did it because I struggled doing BCom and फिर मैंने बोला बिल्कुल पढ़ाई नहीं करनी. So how is that you have studied so much and that's where the knowledge comes from?
Yeah.
But now the system keeps changing every other day. Like, the way people used to work before and the way we work now, it's completely different. I have opened a studio. It's to, be in today's world.
Yeah.
So how does you people keep it update?
So we call it understanding market trends.
Okay.
Right. And when I say market trends is in a layman's term, let's say even when you're in a beauty or a fashion industry, you know that this is one product which is trending or this is one style that is trending. In a very similar way, in our world, which is the HR world, there are multiple tools that are trending.
Okay.
Today's era or today's time, we are in the world of AI. And that is also something that's trending with human resources department. So just to answer, how do we keep up with trainings and so on and so forth? There are multiple areas. One is you do something called as need analysis. What is need analysis? I first go around within the organization by department to understand if there is a training need with all of these departments. If there is, then why is a manager recommending these training needs? And if the manager has recommended these training needs, we look at the gaps. The gap is what? When I hired an individual, this individual was maybe, let's say, experienced 5 years, qualified, basic, graduation, and so on and so forth. But now I'm in the age of AI. And will that BCom or degree is going to help me to cope up? Let's say marketing, again, I'll use as an example, a
You
department.
like marketing a lot, I feel.
Okay, I'll use another.
Choose another department,
Okay,
please.
let's consider IT
Sales.
sales. Okay,
Okay.
fine. Let's look at sales department. Again, multiple areas where you don't need a particular degree perhaps to be in sales department, but you need to be averse with your communication skills and your competencies as a personality and negotiation skills and behavioral traits and so on and so forth. These are basics. But my world is what? AI. Now I am looking at AI for what? Two things. I don't want to design programs which are boring, which are sort of, in our days we used to say bunking college, where you step out of your work, you go and attend these boring trainings, you sleep literally throughout the day, you come back learning nothing out of it, you give some shebang, test online, and you're done. And your company is giving you one certificate, good job, you did this. Application of training is where you see the result being the same. And this is what I have seen over time. Now, how does AI help us? Number one, it reduces the time itself. You don't have to sit and design training programs. Everything, these tools are today providing us design training programs. These are capsule training programs where an attention span of you and I, where we are so busy, is not more than 2 minutes or 3 minutes. These are, we call it capsule training programs. These are some training programs which one can just hear while on the go. When you are going for a meeting or something, let me finish this. Gamification, that's another area that, training sort of helps. How HR knows and does all of this is by, continuously knowing the market trends, what is happening in the market, and how do we not be left behind. If I keep doing the same traditional trainings, classroom trainings and all of that, I know my audience is going to leave me. Zero productivity, waste of time. Waste of time is equal to no return of investment because my 1 day salary is gone there, which could have resulted otherwise in get generating sales for me.
Yeah.
And I'm losing everything there. Does that mean I should not train my people? No, absolutely not. But how effectively I can train my people to be better, productive, give me the effective results, more revenue or more, achieve the higher targets and stuff, that is through the trend of AI or such tools that we can use.
I don't like the concept of work from home as an employer. Maybe as an employee, I would have enjoyed it. I even today don't like Zoom meeting with a potential investor, client, whoever. I like the human touch. But now companies have accepted it, and it was the need of the hour because of the pandemic. How is it beneficial for us ongoing? The future is that either you, like,
Whether you
even
like it or
today,
no.
even if it is a simple job of video editing, I would love my video editors to be in my office rather than somewhere back in India.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, that really matters.
Yeah.
Will that change over a period of time, or we will have to accept and go forward?
Uh, I'll answer this in a very simple way for you. I spoke of market trend, right? Market trend shows you what? The current population, which is across the globe. Now, if you look at LinkedIn stats itself, the applications, or all the professionals which are available on LinkedIn, 57% of the population, whether they are happy, unhappy, or whatever, they're actively available and engaged on LinkedIn. For what? What are they actually watching or reading on LinkedIn? They are seeing organizations such as, Amazons of the world, which are offering hybrid work structure. They are seeing organizations such as Workday, Google, Facebook, which are offering remote based opportunities, right? If I am continuously fed this information online on a digital platform, that's the source that I watch on a day in and out basis. I know that this is where my present is already. It's happening in some part of the world. But I'm sitting in an organization where I start thinking my employer is having some traditional thought process. They don't believe that, or he or she doesn't believe in the fact that, okay, work from home is actually not a bad thing. It is something that maybe there are days that we require. How do you strike a balance of that? The answer is that you can't do away with it. If you want to stay on the trend, if you want to ensure that you don't face those investment problems in talent leaving you in a shorter period of time, you have to adapt. The simple answer is adapt. Adapt to the trend, but how? Do I want to, again, how do I address these issues where I can't afford? You gave an example of a video editor. Let me talk of an example of a store level, employee where he or she has to be present in the store. How will I, get my work from home done there? But there are again policies and procedures which HR need to design, which are adapting to multiple functions within an organization. Where, to give you simple example, where let's say currently where I'm working, I cannot afford my HR operations team to be outside office or working from home 5 days a week. Why? I have passport collections, I have visa applications, I have payroll to run, I have so many other things that are in parallel happening and that are connected to each other as a team, for a job to be performed. How do I then take care of it? Within the team, we prepare a calendar. We allow, let's say, 1 or 2 day in a month work from home. Take any day where, it is required. And if not taken, we push for it so that you don't feel left out of the fact that, oh, I'm not a part of that trend, or I'm not in such a company which is, forward thinking or wherever the world is heading. So you balance all of these activities internally within your teams, within your functions, to ensure that your work is not affected. And like I said, all five fingers treatment cannot be the same, and it goes across industries. So maybe a Google can afford a work from home or a complete 100% remote job. That's a specific job that they are affording. They cannot afford the entire Google to sit from home and do the job remotely. That's given. So, again, the answer lies you need to have a tailor made solution, buy the function, and deploy them. That's how you deal with it.
Fantastic. I loved your answer and your finger movements. Is HR industry, people in the HR industry, or someone who has chosen to open a HR agency, do you guys have a bad reputation by any chance?
Yeah,
And why?
many reasons. Now, to state facts, I'll talk about UAE, where we are operating right now, or you and I, we are working or living. There are certain laws which are again applicable to agencies and consultants, where agencies and consultants are not allowed to charge a candidate or a talent for any placement of a job. But there are scenarios where I'm not talking about white collar but blue collar kind of population, where you have domestic helpers, or again frontliner job roles where they are required, where agencies demand them to pay. It's illegal in this part of the world. So when that happens, engaging with such agencies without a proper background and a reference check gives you a bad name in the industry. So yeah.
I agree with you. And I have seen scenarios where it has turned completely upside down. Yeah. Okay. What are you looking forward for? Who do you want to sign up for your program? Who are you looking, who are your audience? And I know what you can give in return because you have a lot of companies that are looking for hiring.
Yeah.
But what kind of an hiree are you looking for?
It all depends on the demand that is coming from the employers. What kind of
Right
talent?
now, right here, what is your demand?
Right now, right here, the demand is specific to the job roles or vacancies. So, talking of, let's say, healthcare industry,
Okay.
if the demand is, for example, the demand is for a cardiologist, I cannot be offering a candidate which is a gynecologist, right? So it's very simple, where you look at what is the right match and how do I take care of it. Looking at finance institutes or banking industry, again, I need to understand, let's say if I'm working with an ex bank as my client, to offer them candidates and there are vacancies that I'm working on. I have no poaching agreements that I cannot poach from their competitors and give them candidates. So there are multiple nitty-gritties that goes into when it comes to hiring particular talent and the demand. And both are to be again played in a balanced way.
How is a person supposed to prepare the marvelous CV to get the right opportunity?
All right. This question is asked to me by thousands and thousands of candidates. Again, those candidates who either already have their CVs ready, but they don't end up getting jobs or interviews, or those which are students who are going to enter into the corporate world. How do I tackle this? Is number one. First, let me answer what happens in real time when you have a CV at hand. 72% of the times where, let's say, if the job vacancy is published on multiple channels like Indeed, Naukri Gulf, LinkedIn, you name it, all right, on digital platforms or even on company websites, 72% times most of those applicants and CVs are screened automatically by something called as ATS, which is applicant tracking system. Now, what is this system? It's a job portal which recruiters use behind the scenes, to screen the CVs. Now, what is that? Let's say I've published a vacancy of a videographer, all right? And I have written a job description of what I'm looking for in this videographer job. I have put in certain words which we call in HR language booleans. Booleans or keywords in a layman's term. These are search engine optimized words which I am putting in the job description. And this software or applicant tracking system, what does that do? Let's say if I have 1,000 CVs that are coming my way, and if I've put in questions, for example, you might have come across jobs where there are questions asked, how many minimum years of experience do you have? And let's say you answer whatever. But I have put in a boolean or a search word at the behind the scene that I am looking for minimum 5 years of experience. And you add in 2 years of experience. That CV will never reach me. That CV will be thrown away by that software itself, right? Like this, screening happens by the software at the first level. In this process, what is the loss of the candidates? Even if they have the right skill set, experience, competency, and all of that, but they don't have the right CV, which will cross these filters that are put in by the recruiter and the ATS system, they end up not getting the job. And this is how, the trend goes on that out of 1,000, why only two reached to a level of interview and only one got selected at the end of the day. How all of these happens is the game of the software. Now, how can I ensure that I crack through this and get that job? Is I need to pilot, customize my CV per job description that's published on the vacancy. All those keywords which are highlighted on that even words, for example, if it's written videography and I'm writing photography, although I know videography, of course, it's a given, these two words are never going to match. So I've lost the game there itself. So half of the battle is over. You keep applying, you're never going to land interviews. So you need to customize your CV by job profiles. Easy way, easy hack. There are AI tools. There's something called as Hire View. There is something called as tools like Workday. These tools are currently available in the market that one can use to customize their CVs per job application and then apply for CVs. And 100% you will end up, if you're applying for 20 roles, you will end up at least getting 2 interviews. That's for sure.
When does an employee is actually satisfied? Okay. Is it to have dinner in the same table with an employer, or a raise in a paycheck, or an incentives? Is it monetary, or is it sharing the table?
Okay. Interesting question. And I'll give you an answer, one which is experience based and one which is scientific.
Okay.
All right. First, I'll touch base scientific answer to this and I'll answer you directly. Okay. Let's say today I've done a good job. I've reached to my performance cycle. I'm working with you for the last 2 years. You've given me a pay rise of 1,000 dirhams, right? And according to you, you've done a very good job as a manager to give me that promotion and pay rise of 1,000 dirhams. But I know after I complete 2 years, and if I have to step out of, somewhere else to look for a job, I'll at least get a hike of minimum 10%. You are giving me a hike of 2 or 4% within the company. Do you think that 1,000 dirham is going to motivate me to stay me in the company for long? I'll take it for the time being, but it's not going to give me any drive or a push to ensure that I even stay with you for the next 1 year. Why? Because now I'm all the way feeling more demotivated that my worth is right now 4,000, but I'm given 1,000 dirhams. Did that help you? No. Is that helping the employee? No. Second answer from experience. You know, putting food on the table and doing dinners or coffees with the employers and so on and so forth. We call it team building activities or engagement activities. Why are they done in the first place? Is to have an ice break, is to have transparency, is to build a culture within the employees, within the teams, where you are bonding or partnering with them as one group who are working with you. And you're not doing this to motivate them. That dinner or that time that they're taking out from their family to come with you and sit and have, there is some purpose behind it. That purpose is what? If I don't go, I'll lose the job. यार boss ने बुलाया, right? Or everybody is gonna be there. How can I be left out? Number one. Or I'll be considered a bad apple, or I'll be, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll be doomed somewhere in the corner. I'll be cornered. So I have to, now it's a obligation on me to be a part and participate in this. Is it motivating me? No. I left my me time to be here. And for what? Just for dinner. Right? So both ways, the practice that, and it's a myth, or I would say it's a indicative problem that a lot of leadership has in the companies, that if I do, annual performance cycles, it's going to motivate my people. It only motivates that 2% of people whom you're keeping happy. Your rest of the population has gotten nothing but peanuts. So you want the whole population to be happy, or you want just the 2% to be happy? That's a question the employer needs to ask, when you devise such mechanisms. In my view, solution. Now I've given you problem. You had
Yeah.
a problem statement. I told you that, things are not going to help you in either way. Solution mode is only one. Something called as recognition and something called as reward. These both needs to be played in a way that they are not boring and they're not repetitive. And it could be anything. Let's say I am expecting, I'm somebody who's been in the office. For example, I'll give you a finance person. This accountant will stay in your office 365 days, 12 hours a day, at times, to close the books of accounts and so on and so forth. What motivation is left for this person to work for you other than having a 9 to 9 or even 9 to 10 kind of job that this person is going to give you? Nothing. You will give 1000 dirham again. It doesn't impact no matter what. ठीक है सबका बढ़ रहा है मेरा भी बढ़ गया कुछ नहीं मिला. But if I go over the top and I call out this employee to become the employee of the month, and I give the recognition in Hall of the Fame, and I appreciate and make this person who is not seen behind the scene somewhere working hard every day in and out, and bring this person forward, give the recognition, and everybody's clapping. For that one day, I will carry this memory and this certificate with me with any job that I go to, and I'll proudly talk of this achievement. I will never go to another employer and say, I received 1000 dirham raise. Or I will never go to another employer and say that my boss used to give me parties every weekend. That's not going to happen. But this certificate, this achievement, I will boast everywhere. So that's the answer for you. So, yeah.
Fantastic. This was a fabulous episode of mine. And I think it is very close to me. I deal with it on a every day to day basis. So thank you so much for putting in so much of inputs.
Yeah.
And this is Rajshree for you guys. Please, we are going to leave her Insta page and her contacts for you guys to get in touch. And let's see how it works forward. Thank you very much. This is Procast Studio, and looking forward for many more people to come and talk about their industry over here. This chair is going to be yours. Thank you.